Before this episode begins, I'd like to take a moment of silence for all Jets fans out there. And we keep it rolling. The Denver Broncos have hired former Saints head coach Sean Payton, baby. We're holding. What the hell is pimento cheese? Tom Brady has announced his retirement from the NFL. For real this time. Come on, kick the field goal, take the points. Win the game.
No, you have to.
See you later. Well, Ruffing the Passer show where I talk football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I am your host, Sam Ruffing, and this is episode 82, 83, 81, I think it's 82, of Ruffing the Passer. And boy, what a week of football we just had. Finally, it is back, week one, and it was alright. It was not terrible, not great, but there were some fun games like the Chargers and Dolphins game. The Eagles and Patriots was surprisingly close, I don't know where. And there were upsets galore like the Bengals and Browns, the Jets and Bills, the Lions upsetting the Chiefs, and whatever the heck Dallas did to New York. I don't know what to even call that. That's war crime. Those are war crimes out there. But yeah, that was a good week of football. My NFL picks went fairly decently this week. I picked 10 out of 16 games right, so 10-6 on the week. Not terrible. I was proud of that. And this is going to be a jam-packed episode, talking about some very big topics from the week one. Let's start with the biggest news and some incredibly sad news for the New York Jets, who defeated the Buffalo Bills last night 22-16 in what was a surprising win. Not for me, I picked them to win, but surprising in the fact that they won the way they did, considering they went into the game. Their offense was looking a little rough, and then on their first series, on like the fifth play, Aaron Rodgers gets sacked, his ankle pops, and it turns out he now has a torn Achilles and is out for the year. That just stinks. I mean, Jets fans and the Jets traded for a guy who was disgruntled out of from Green Bay. Comes to New York, looks refreshed, he looks motivated, brings in his favorite OC, brings in some weapons. You think, this is it. This is gonna be the year for the Jets, and then it's just all taken away in one play, and would just like to just send my condolences to Jets fans for that. That's rough. But the Jets held on. Their defense stood steady and intercepted Josh Allen 3 times and forced a fumble on him, which they recovered. And Zach Wilson, who came in, started off a little rough with an interception, but played well down the stretch and led a game-tying touchdown where he threw it right to a defender. But Garrett Wilson just happened to be in the way where he popped the ball up and like it was backyard football and caught it to tie the game. And then in overtime, what happens? The Jets win on a punt return. So congratulations, New York Jets. Great win. However, with the loss of Aaron Rodgers, I'm not so certain this team is going to win the division as I originally had picked. I had them going 12-5, and now I don't know if that's actually going to happen because of the loss of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think it's a little too much to overcome. Zach Wilson's very iffy at quarterback. And just losing Rodgers, such an emotional blow. I don't know if the Jets can steer it and get enough wins to win the division. However, watching last night and thinking about it, and this might sound crazy, I don't think the Jets are out of playoff contention. And honestly, I wouldn't bet against them to make the playoffs. And, yeah. Here's why. They had every single right to lose to the Bills last night. No Aaron Rodgers, first week with a new OC. Just the Bills have obviously won the division the last 3 years with great records. going up against Josh Allen. I mean, and they're playing Zach Wilson. There is no reason the Jets should have won that game, yet they did. I mean, this team came back from 10 down in the third quarter with field goal drive and then a touchdown drive just to win this game. Wow. Just impressive. And why I really like the Jets this year is the defense, man. That defense is so loaded. It's insane. I mean, C.J. Mosley, Sauce Gardner, Jordan Whitehead now is coming out of nowhere and played very well. They have Quinnen Williams as well. It is a stacked defense. It was top 5 last year, and it's only getting better as Sauce Gardner is in his second season. And the offense, well, not great. The offense line's iffy. I mean, Garrett Wilson was Offense Rookie of the Year last year and played amazingly last night. Breece Hall has not lost a step after that ACL injury. And Dalvin Cook, obviously, is going to get better with time. I mean, Allen Lazard seems like a really solid number 2 option at receiver. This team, I think, can go places. I mean, they were they started at 7-3 last year in the division lead before they benched Zach Wilson. And I know the big if here is Zach Wilson. However, Zach Wilson went 5-2 as a starter before they benched him last season. I mean, his only 2 losses were to New England. Other than that, he was beating guys like Josh Allen. He was beating guys like Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh Steelers. I know Zach Wilson is a meme. I know people don't like him. He does throw a lot of interceptions. He doesn't throw a lot of touchdowns. He's very inefficient as a quarterback. But for some reason, every time it feels like when the game is close and Zach Wilson gets the ball late, he's just going to march down the field and score a touchdown or field goal or whatever, or at least set his team up in a position to win. I mean, he went 6. He's now in last 10 games he's played in, he is 6-4. He should be 7-3 because they should have beaten the Lions last year, or could have beaten the Lions last year when Zach Wilson set up the team for a game-tying field goal, which Greg the Leg left. I honestly think the Jets could be all right. I mean, they're going to Dallas next week. No one's giving them a chance. They could go up there, show up against Dallas, and because they're better than the New York Giants, actually pull off a win, especially since Dallas has a tendency to overlook small opponents. Let's be real here. Dallas does overlook, underdog opponents. And honestly, this team does really remind me of the Giants last year. No one expected them to do anything with this quarterback, with their, early quarterback who's not great, not terrible. But they came out of nowhere with strong coaching. I think the Jets have strong coaching. They have a great run game, just like the Giants. Their O-line's supposedly weak, yet they held up fairly well against a Bills pass rush that is ferocious and won the game. They have some solid receivers like the Giants did last year. Their defense, just like the Giants, was great. I think this Jets team could actually make the playoffs this year and win like 10 games. I don't think they're going to win the division. But I think that they're going to be fairly competitive and still be a playoff team. Mark my words. Now, if this goes horribly wrong, oh well. I was wrong, but I really do think the Jets are going to be good this season. The Bills, on the other hand, well, I still think they're going to be decent, but what the heck was that? What the heck was that, Bills? You have every right to win this game. You were humiliated in the playoffs by Joe Burrow. You come into this game against a Jets roster that has a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator, has an ugly O-line, and you throw 3 interceptions, have 1 fumble, and lose on a punt return. I said last year that the Bills should have fired Sean McDermott. And, it's looking a little right because he's doing exactly the same things he has done throughout the entirety of his Bills tenure. I mean, the game last night, the Bills had interceptions, lots of turnovers. They had no run game, which of course they have no run game because the Bills never do anything with the run game. They ran James Cook only 12 times last night, and he only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. The defense was the only thing they focused on, and even then they still blew it at the end like they always do. They can't win in overtime. And I was worried about this Bills team, and it looks like I'm right thus far. I mean, just... I know Josh Allen was bad last night. But I mean, what has he got to work with as a head coach or offensive coordinator? You see, 2 years ago he had Brian Daboll, who could actually manage a game plan, who actually gave Josh Allen something out there. They could at least try to do something out there, so he could go up against Patrick Mahomes and go toe to toe with him. The Bills don't do anything out there. It looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers when they had Ben Roethlisberger. Just kind of throw him out there and run Stephon Diggs deep, Gabe Davis deep, and hope Josh Allen makes a play. No, we don't need to set up a run game. Let's just have Josh Allen do that. We don't need to set up any quick passing game. Let's just have Josh Allen send it. This is what I've always just not liked about Sean McDermott. It's the finer details. He just focuses on one side of the ball, his defense, and even that's not very good. Offensively, this team does nothing. It was pretty much the same thing that it's always been in the playoffs last season that it was last night, against the Jets. Josh Allen having to scramble for his life, make all the plays, throw it to deep because there is no offensive game plan, and have to do everything himself. They haven't improved the offensive line. They haven't gotten him a star running back somehow. Yes, they drafted a tight end. Congratulations, you finally did something right. But man, the Bills, I just don't trust this season when it comes to... At least not until Von Miller comes back. Now Von Miller comes back in his usual dominant form. Once the playoffs hits, who knows, because he's so great. But this team had a chance to fire Sean McDermott last year and bring in Sean McVay. I mean, not Sean McVay, Sean Payton. There's too many Seans in the NFL. Why is that a case? If you had brought in Sean Payton, you know what he would have done with Josh Allen? Holy cow, that would have been scary. I mean, just, could have brought in DeMeco Ryans, could have brought in Jim Harbaugh. I think Sean McDermott's seat is going to be very hot this season, and I'm not so certain he's going to last after this year. And it's probably better. I mean, there'll be so many good coaches on the market at the end of the season. And, I know they just re-signed Sean McDermott, but that was a mistake. You can fire him. Who cares? You can eat the dead cat money. No one cares. You're having your taxpayers pay for $850 million of your $1.2 billion stadium. I think you can afford it, Bills. But for coaches you can hire next year, I mean, if you just fire McDermott, you could probably get Jim Harbaugh if you wanted. I mean, he could leave Michigan if he wins the title, or even if not, I'm sure he'd be interested. You could hire... Literally, maybe Mike Vrabel's available. Maybe the Titans season doesn't go well and they make a mistake and fire him. If Brian Daboll's season is really bad because they re-signed the wrong player, who knows? Brian Daboll and Josh Allen would be insane. If something goes horribly wrong with the Patriots, Bill Belichick could be on the market. I don't think that would happen, but it would be hilarious to see him coach the Bills. Buffalo Bills, Bill Belichick. Anyways, that would also be scary. And I know he doesn't know much about offense, but at least he knows how to handle a defense that can actually stop a team when they need to. Heck, you could even hire Deion Sanders. Okay, that's a joke, but I mean, he's already coaching a Buffalo's team to greatness, so I'm not sure I'd bet against him to not do the same in Buffalo. I feel like he'd do well there. But anyone but Sean McDermott, seriously, this is the same stuff every year. And, it's not looking good for the Buffalo Bills. I really don't see them doing well this year. At least they're going to struggle early, especially with Stephon Diggs. If they struggle early and things get ugly, Stephon Diggs is probably going to want out. He's going to want to be traded. You're going to have to fire your coach. It could go horribly wrong for Buffalo this year. Which would leave the door open for the AFC East with the Aaron Rodgers injury and Buffalo being so incompetent with for the Patriots and Dolphins. I mean, The Patriots lost this last week to the Eagles, but they still made it a close game and had a chance to win. I mean, there was no right. The Patriots had no right to be in the game as close as they were against the Eagles, yet they managed it. And Mac Jones, with a real offensive coordinator, threw for 310 yards and 3 touchdowns and only had one bad pick, which was off the receiver's hands, so it could have been caught. I mean, I'm just saying. This division is wide open. It is prime for the taking, and New England is not out of it. I mean, they had no right playing the Eagles that close, but their offense looks a lot better, although they need to stop running so many dang screen passes. It's unbelievable. Their defense is obviously great. Matt Judon and Jack Jones and so many players on defense. They're so good. Bill Belichick's obviously one of the greatest coaches of all time. And the fact that Mac Jones looks so good despite, not having any weapons is a really good sign, honestly. Like, if the Patriots get a win this next week against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football, that could be huge. Like, literally huge. I mean, you take the lead in the division, because I don't know if I'm not entirely sure that the Jets are going to win next week in Dallas. The Bills will probably beat the Raiders next week, but if you can beat the Dolphins, that's a division lead early. And in a division this tight, with a Dolphins team that I don't trust too much with Vic Fangio as DC, things could get interesting. Real interesting in the AFC. That's one to watch for, I think. And I think the Patriots could become a surprise team after this week. It might be a bit of an overreaction, but I'd keep my eye on them. And even if the Dolphins do prove me wrong, which they look like they're doing, hopefully Tua stays healthy, they could easily take this division. I mean, no Aaron Rodgers. Buffalo's trash. Well, they're not trash, but they don't have Von Miller right now, and the coach is over his skis, and there's absolutely no offense besides Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. while the Dolphins are sitting there with Bradley Chubb and Vic Fangio, who is not my favorite defensive coordinator, but I will have to admit he can coach a good defense during the regular season. So there is that. But also Tua and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and they could even trade still for Jonathan Taylor. Mike McDaniel does look like a great head coach. Assuming Tua stays healthy, that Dolphins team could easily take the division. So watch for the Patriots and Dolphins this coming season. I think those two are going to be vying for it with the Bills for the first place. Actually, I think everyone's just going to be vying for first place. It's probably going to go to Miami, would be my guess now, even though I said 8 and 9. But hey, you know what? Miami could take the division as of now. And then after that, could be New England, could be Buffalo, could be New York. Any one of those teams could take a second seed and second place and a wild card spot. I just can't wait to watch it all play out. It looks fascinating. All right, let's get on to the fun part of the show. My Denver Broncos played this last weekend. In their opening game, their home opener was Sean Payton returning to the NFL after retirement for one season, with Russell Wilson supposedly being rejuvenated, against the lowly Las Vegas Raiders, and they lost. The Broncos lost. Are you kidding me? What the heck was that? You know it's bad when the Broncos start out the game with an onside kick. Like, Sean, this is not New Orleans. You're not some celebrity head coach who's going to come in and just be good because your name is Sean Payton. You have to actually put in the work, and you pull out an onside kick. Yes, it almost worked, but the Broncos touched the ball before the line of scrimmage, before the 50-yard line or whatever, so that's why it didn't. But man, this loss stings. The Broncos did start out well after allowing an early touchdown to Las Vegas, where they marched down the field and scored an opening drive touchdown, which was amazing. It's never happened before in the history of Denver Broncos. At least I can't remember. It's been so long. But then, of course, they sent out the new kicker, Will Lutz, who Sean Payton traded for, who Sean Payton cut Brandon McManus for, and he misses the extra point. And of course, because this is Broncos country, we can't have anything nice here, at least not since the Super Bowl. That, of course, came back to bite the team in the butt, where they lost by 1 point later in the game. Oh, and by the way, the Broncos scored 16 points. And you know what play really bugged me about this game? So much, just so much, was when it was 4th down and 5 at the Raiders 5, or 4th and goal at the Raiders 5, late in the game when the Broncos are up 3. Now, Sean Payton should know that the Broncos don't play well when they score 16 points. And I know this is extremely superstitious and petty, but I'm just saying, the Broncos should know that they don't play well. They don't usually win when they score 16 points. But yet, what does Sean Payton do? He sends out the field goal unit and kicks the field goal to score 16 points, leaving the Raiders 5 minutes and an offense that has not been pressured at all today. A perfect opportunity to march down the field and score a touchdown, which they actually need to do so they feel the pressure to do it. And you know what happens when you apply pressure to someone? They break or they make it. And what did the Raiders do? They made it because, of course, they scored a touchdown, kicked the extra point, and they went up 1. I hated that play, and I just hated that play so much. And I'm never anyone who advocates for going for it on 4th down usually. I'm usually just a take the points kind of guy. But when you're up by 3, you're on the Raiders' 5-yard line, why not go for a touchdown? Why not just try and get it to the end zone? What's the worst that can happen? You miss? Well, the worst that can happen is throw a pick 6, but that's highly unlikely. The worst that can happen is you throw an incompletion or he ends up short of the goal line, whatever, or the Raiders intercept it. It doesn't matter. But then the Raiders would be down only 3 at their own 5-yard line, so their only goal would be to get a field goal, which would make them less motivated to march down the field and score a touchdown, because they're only thinking about field goals. And they're at the 5-yard line anyway, so it's going to be harder to actually get a touchdown. So that would have worked out great, because then you would have gotten the ball back, and you could have gone down the field with maybe 2 minutes left, because the Raiders would have taken a lot of time off the clock, kicked the game-winning field goal, won by 3, scored 16 points in a win, redeem your kicker, and all that jazz. It would have been absolutely beautiful. You would have been hailed as a hero, Sean Payton. But no, that would have been the smart thing to do. Or if it did work, you could have scored a touchdown, had 20 points, and basically secured the win from there with a 10-point lead. But man, it just bugs me watching this team talk all this trash yet again. I know they've been quieter this year. Talk all this trash yet again, calling out the Jets, calling out Nathaniel Hackett. And then they show up and just do the exact same stuff as last season. They lose a game that they should have won in their home opener by 1 point, the same final score as last year. Listen, Broncos, just please keep quiet for one off season. It's getting to me, and it's really annoying. Why? Why did you do that? Did you have to? Did you have to call out all these teams? Did you have to make fun of Nathaniel Hackett there, Sean Payton? Really? How about you spend more time focusing on the fact that you need to not do an onside kick, that you need to go for it on that 4th down there, that you should throw the ball to Courtland Sutton more than 5 times, maybe run the ball with Javonte Williams more than 10. I don't know. Not hire Vance Joseph as your defensive coordinator. And I know I'm sounding bitter. I'm just sick and tired of this team being absolutely terrible, like they've been for the last 6 years. This team, I just found out recently, has lost 35 one-score games in the last 6 years, which is the most by any NFL team. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense on why this team's so bad. They keep blowing one-score games because they don't have the guts to just take it and win, like they did with Peyton Manning, like they even did with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. And it bugs me, dang it. Like Russell Wilson could do in Seattle. And you know what's even worse? Russell Wilson didn't even play bad. This team just lost. So it's not Russ's fault. Despite saying all that, I might be overreacting a bit. Okay? As much as I am very disappointed in this Broncos team, as much as I am so very, very angry, this team is coming in with a new head coach and a new offense, and they lost their tight end during the game, and Courtland Sutton's their only receiver, and Javonte Williams coming off of injury. Even still, it does worry me, and I just don't want this team to say anything, to be so cocky, until they actually go out there and prove that they can win. That's all I'm saying. Now, they could retaliate and become great again, but there was a lot to like from this game. I mean, Sean Payton's offense did look at least decent for the 6 possessions that they had, which they only had 6 possessions, so that's fair. That might explain why they only put up 16 points. So they scored on, 4 of their 6 drives. Actually, they scored on 3 of their 6 drives, but it should have been 4 because Willett should have made a field goal. But even still, I'm just saying that this team could turn it around. I mean, there were top-end AFC contenders that played much worse in Week 1, like the Bills, like the Giants, like the Bengals, like the Steelers even. So it's not the end of the world. I might be overreacting a bit. I'm just frustrated. Hopefully this team gets better, and maybe this is what this team needs. Just a little bit of a wake-up call, a little bit of a, we shouldn't be so cocky. Let's just grind it out, get a few wins here or there, try and make it with a winning record by Week 8. Maybe that's what this team needs. I don't know. I'm still frustrated. Hopefully Judy comes back soon. Hopefully they target Courtland Sutton more than 5 times. But even still, I'm just disappointed in this team. Like very much so. Let me know your thoughts on the Broncos in the comments below and how disappointed you were in that loss. Please get better. Just please. Still as bad as it was for the Broncos. At least the Seahawks lost. Yeah, I'm that petty. At least they scored fewer points than Denver. Man, Geno Smith, he only threw for like 118 yards. And 1 touchdown. No interceptions, but like, I'm just wondering, maybe you should start that backup of yours. He looked pretty decent in preseason. He can sling it downfield and go toe-to-toe with Matt Stafford. I'm just saying, Seattle, put in Drew Lock, and I will stop being so angry at you. If you put in Drew Lock, I will start rooting for the Seahawks right now. I mean, still be a Broncos fan, but I will root for the Seahawks if you put in Drew Lock. Yeah, I'm still extremely petty about it. You know what also I noticed about the Seahawks is that in 2021 they had Bobby Wagner on their roster. And they went, what, 6-11? No, it was before 6-10? Maybe it was 7-10. And then they cut him last season. He goes to the Rams, and the Rams were terrible. But the Seahawks were great. And then the Rams cut Bobby Wagner this last offseason. And he goes back to Seattle, and now the Seahawks lose again. I'm just saying, maybe the problem in Seattle wasn't Russell Wilson. Maybe it was Bobby Wagner. Some food for thought there. Yeah, before we go on to my next topic, I would like to start off with my predictions for Week 2 of the 2023 NFL season. Starting with the opener of Thursday Night Football on Amazon. Not sponsored, I just wanted to say that because why not? Vikings at Eagles. I have the Philadelphia Eagles triumphing over the Minnesota Vikings. And then in Packers-Falcons, I have the Packers beating the Falcons. It's Packers at Falcons, by the way. With the Raiders at the Bills, I have the Bills beating the Raiders. I should do this, but having watched last week's game, I'm not so certain. With the Ravens at the Bengals, I have the Ravens beating the Bengals, and the Bengals starting 0-2. I know, it's a bit surprising, but they don't usually start off well. early in the season. With the Seahawks at the Lions, we have the Lions beating the Seahawks. Should really start Drew Lock there, Seattle. With the Colts at Texans, I have the Texans surprisingly upsetting the Colts. I did not see that coming, but here we are. With the Chiefs at Jaguars, I have the Jaguars beating the Chiefs in a rematch from the divisional round. With the Bears at Buccaneers, I have the Buccaneers starting out 2-0 and beating the Chicago Bears. With the Chargers at the Titans, I have the Chargers beating the Titans. Sorry, Titans, you should really bench Ryan Tannehill. With the Giants at the Cardinals, I have the Giants beating the Cardinals, obviously. As bad as the Giants were, they should not lose to the Cardinals. Rams at 49ers. Sorry, 49ers at Rams. I have the 49ers, traditionally, beating the Rams. It just happens. If it's not a playoff game, the Rams are not winning. Sorry. I don't make the rules here. I just have contacts with the NFL, and I check the scripts every once in a while. With the Jets at Cowboys, I have the Cowboys beating the Jets. Well, yeah. Especially after last Sunday night. Wow. Does not look good for the Jets in that game. Could be an upset, though. Commanders at Buccaneers. Sorry, Commanders at Broncos. That was last week. Buccaneers. Anyways, Commanders at Broncos. I have the Broncos getting their first win against the Commanders. It's probably low scoring, and it's probably extremely ugly, like the Week 2 game last season for Denver against the Texans, because we just can't have nice things. And then, with the Dolphins at Patriots on Sunday night, I have the Patriots beating the Dolphins. Whoa. Interesting. That should be a fun game, honestly. Belichick's defense versus Miami's offense. And Mac Jones with an actual OC. It's probably going to be low scoring, but it should be interesting. Saints at Panthers. I have the Saints beating the Panthers. Yeah, I know. Listen, the Saints got a surprising win this last weekend. I guess they just go 2-0 start. Browns at Steelers. I have the Steelers beating the Browns because, well, Steelers at home. Just lost to the Bengals. Not the Bengals. They just lost to the 49ers. They're not going to be too happy, and they traditionally beat up on the Browns. So those are my predictions for Week 2 of the NFL season. Let me know yours in the comments below. Back on to topics. To the task at hand. Right. I want to talk about now the Titans losing to the New Orleans Saints 15-16. Oof. What really made this game worse for the Titans, besides losing, was the fact that they should have won handily. But Ryan Tannehill decided to throw 3 interceptions. And this man came into the season already on the hot seat. I mean, they've drafted 2 of his replacements already, in Malik Willis last season and Will Levis this season. And if I'm the Titans, after watching this game, after seeing Ryan Tannehill have a 54% completion percentage, or was it 47? One of those 2. And throw 3 interceptions, and only throw for 113 yards, 130, something like that. 118 yards, I think it was. And 3 interceptions, have a QBR, quarterback rating, pass rating, excuse me, of 33, which is worse than if you were to just throw the ball into the dirt every play. I would honestly strongly consider benching Ryan Tannehill. I mean, it's just time. You've had him for 5 years at this point. He's had some good years early, but ever since he lost Arthur Smith, he's just not been good. I mean, he's thrown a lot of interceptions. He doesn't complete the ball very well. And he's just holding a team back that has DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry on it. I mean, Derrick Henry is doing all he can in that Titans backfield, but I mean, only he can do so much to carry Ryan Tannehill. And honestly, what do the Titans have to lose by benching Ryan Tannehill? I mean, if they were to bench him and play Malik Willis, well, first of all, there would be no pressure because he's a second-year quarterback. I mean, it probably won't go as poorly as last year because Malik Willis is not nearly as raw. He's had an entire season to marinate and absorb all the spices that you've thrown in, absorb the knowledge from Ryan Tannehill. And it's not like he had a terrible receiving core this season like he did last season. Treylon Burks is in his second year. I mean, what's his name? DeAndre Hopkins is now there. And Derrick Henry is still great. I mean, Malik Willis played terribly last year, yes, but he also had no one to throw to. Absolutely no one. This season's different. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You have Derrick Henry still, who will just take all the load and pressure off of Malik Willis. And if Malik Willis hits, I mean, that man is so talented. He can throw the ball 80 yards on his knees. He's mobile. He's a really humble guy. I don't know if there's anything to do with it, but he's a really nice guy. You just tend to root for nice guys. If I'm the Titans, I'm just benching Ryan Tannehill and seeing what I got in Malik Willis. I mean, it's early in the season. Team's not going anywhere otherwise if you keep Ryan Tannehill in there, in my opinion anyways. And if that doesn't work, you have Will Levis, who's a rookie. And there's even less pressure for Will Levis to perform great. I mean, all he has to do is perform well or okay, and it'll be fine. I mean, you're Mike Vrabel, you're a smart coach. You can figure this out. And if the season doesn't go well, tough. You can just blow it up or something. I don't know, but I just don't see the point in keeping Ryan Tannehill there as starter. He's had a 47% completion percentage, people. That is horrendous. I mean, literally horrendous. 3 interceptions. One of those drives, all he has to do is not throw an interception. They probably score a field goal and win. You know what's even worse? He lost to Derek Carr and the Saints. But yeah, I really don't see the Titans doing much with Ryan Tannehill this year, so I'd just move on. I don't see what the problem would be. Just let Malik Willis play and see if he sinks or swims. And if that doesn't work, then throw in Will Levis and see if he sinks or swims. Can he swim in a pool of mayo? Anyways. Ugh. Gross. Moving on to the massacre in the Meadowlands on Sunday night. Oh my gracious. Dallas, you didn't have to do that to New York. I mean, that was horrendous. Do you feel bad? Do you need a hug, New York? Or their Giants? Do you need a hug? Because that was rough. I mean, sheesh. Dallas came into that game and I didn't think they were going to win. But they decided to spite me, and the defense was like, let's do this. Scoring on offense, defense, and special teams, all 3 parts of the game with a block kick, with a fumble recovery touchdown, and obviously rushing touchdown passing. It was just a miracle. Not a miracle, it was just unbelievable. I did not see Dallas doing that. Whew. Wow. I don't know what to say. That was just unbelievable. Wow. But I will say something about the Giants. You paid Daniel Jones $160 million over 4 years to do that, to put up 0 points, to throw 2 interceptions, have a fumble. Oof. Listen. This is why I had the Giants being a 6-11 team. Not a good team at all. Last year was a bit of a fluke. They came into the season with low expectations, as an underdog, just completely under the radar, with a new head coach with Saquon finally healthy, and a pretty decent defense. So it was actually pretty non-surprising that they were so good as they were, and were as good as they were, and snuck in a few wins here or there and made the playoffs. This season, they don't have any of that. Everyone's expecting a lot from Daniel Jones now. He's been paid $40 million a year. Saquon's back healthy. You just traded for Darren Waller. People aren't going to take you so lightly since he just made the playoffs. They're used to Brian Daboll a little bit more. I really don't like this Giants team this year, and that game was honestly a showcase. That's partly why. I mean, obviously, I don't think any team. You'd be hard pressed to find any quarterback in Daniel Jones' spot who would have won that game. I don't think anyone would, even prime John Elway, even prime Peyton or Patrick Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, doesn't matter. Even Montana, no one's winning that game with the position they were in against that defense. But I feel like they would have put up more points than, say, what Daniel Jones just did. And when you're paying a guy $40 million a year, you expect him to at least put up maybe 14 points in a game like that. You expect him to lead your team and look a little bit better. I mean, this entire contract made no sense to me at the time. You sign a guy who you've had questions for 4 years on whether or not he's actually good to a big extension after he plays one good year, one solid year, not even great, not even terrible, but just solid year, where he only threw 15 touchdowns. You re-sign that guy for a 4-year, $160 million extension. But yet you refuse to pay your running back, who has also been injured, yes, but who was coming off of a career year, who was finally healthy, who was the catalyst for your comeback and your entire offense. You won't pay that guy, but you'll pay Daniel Jones. This is why I think running backs are a bit right to be angry. I don't think it's the running back's fault that their team does horribly after they pay them. I think it's the fact that they pay the quarterbacks who have benefited from such great running backs because they're made to look a lot better than they actually are. I mean, Daniel Jones is not getting the $160 million contract if Saquon Barkley is not there. And also, why would you pay Daniel Jones $160 million or just give him a 4-year contract in general? Why not just keep him on a franchise tag and see what he can do this year? If he plays well, great. If he doesn't, well, draft a quarterback and pair him with a freshly paid Saquon Barkley, who's going to be there for a few years, who's still pretty good. I know it didn't work in Dallas with Zeke Elliott. And that's the one everyone points to. Oh, Zeke didn't work out. Well, Zeke was paid 2 years before he should have been. And Dak Prescott's a okay quarterback. Not great. I mean, Zeke's a rare exception. All right. Guys like Dalvin Cook were paid, and they performed well. Christian McCaffrey was paid, and after a few years of injury, performed well. Derrick Henry has lived up to every single penny on that contract he was paid. Yet you pay a guy like Daniel Jones. And besides those teams that they point out who paid the running backs, they also paid guys like Jimmy Garoppolo. I love Jimmy Garoppolo, but they paid Jimmy Garoppolo. They paid Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, and now Daniel Jones. Are we sure it's the running back's fault here? Or are they just drafting... Or are they just paying the wrong quarterbacks? Because if it were me, I would take these quarterbacks who have questions on whether or not they can be all-time great, well, not all-time greats, but just a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And I would put them on franchise tags if it's their, contract year. Because then I can see if they sink or swim once more, yet again, stuff like that. While I pay my running back and secure him for the next 5 seasons, because I know he's going to play at least fairly decently, and make him happy. And if, say, he doesn't work out, like, if he doesn't work out, oh well. I mean, if the quarterback doesn't work out, I should say, then you can just draft a new one and pair him with that running back you just paid who's going to be a star and will help develop a next great quarterback. I really don't understand this whole scenario of not paying running backs right now. I think they overcomplicated it just a little bit. Just a little bit. I know Todd Gurley got hurt, but that was a weird exception. There are obviously going to be some bad cases, but you can pay bad quarterbacks even more. No one talks about it. And I know this really doesn't have much to do with the Giants, but I really don't trust the Giants this year either. I mean, Daniel Jones was a mistake paying him. The teams are going to figure him out a little bit more. I don't think their defense is quite as good as it was last season. And their O-line's not good. It really isn't good, besides Andrew Thomas. I really don't trust this Giants team this season. Also, more on the running back thing. Why don't the Colts just pay Jonathan Taylor? Just sign him to like a 4-year, $60 million deal. $15 million years fine, especially when you have a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson, who could really benefit from having a great run game. And he already looks like a good quarterback after 1 week, so why not just pay Jonathan Taylor and pair him up with Anthony Richardson? Give him something to learn with, some great star to learn with. That's what I would do. I don't see why they're holding out, why they're not paying him. It just doesn't make any sense to me, especially when you're not paying your quarterback. Those are my thoughts on running backs and the Giants. Let me know yours in the comments below. I would be very interested to hear. Moving on, do I have one more topic? Oh. Never mind, I don't have any other topics. Well, this has been Roughing the Passer, the show that has talked football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have. Let me know your thoughts on week 1 in the comments below. I will see you probably after the Thursday night game, maybe before. Who knows? I thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, everybody. See you later. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell to stay notified. Share this with your friends and family. And once again, bye.